we're talking about the product delivery and support. We can be involved. I'm going to say most of the time, our customer takes over once the product is delivered to them. But when it gets to the end customer, there's a process, IQ, OQ, PQ, which is the installation qualification. You unpack it, make sure all the parts are there. Then the OQ is the operational qualification. Is it working the way that it's supposed to? And then PQ is the performance qualification to make sure that it's doing the job that you need it done in your process, in the end customer's process. So, and then there are different tests, and in a lot of cases they're formalized. When you open the box, you get the IQ, OQ documentation out, and it lists everything that shall be in the box. And you literally count it and make sure it's all there. You set it up on a table or bolt it to the floor or hang it from the ceiling or whatever is going to happen. And there are tests that you run to make sure that it's wired up correctly. And then once that's all complete, the installation qualification is complete. And then you go through some testing on how it operates in its position. And that's the operational qualification. Like I said, we do have field engineers that go with some equipment and do the IQ, OQ on it. But in most cases, our customer has the technical field support people, or the end customer has those same people, and they can kind of do a self IQ, OQ. You think about it, even if you receive a new coffee maker in the mail, I mean, you're just doing your own IQ, OQ. You open the box, you take it out. Hey, there's usually a little piece of paper that says in this box, you will find the coffee pot and the maker, and there's a power cord. Don't forget to plug it in, and 3 or 4 of these and a filter. And you look and, hey, yeah, it's all there. Done. You set it up on the counter, you plug it into the wall, you turn it on. Yep, it's all working. Then you make a cup of coffee. Say, oh my God, that was horrible. Well, now it's failed the performance qualification, right? That's just the consumer doing that process, and it's very casual. And sometimes it's just take it out and plug it in, and hope you didn't leave any packing material where it gets hot. So.
But one of the things from a support standpoint, we keep records of everything that we do, of every product that ships. I mean, it's varying levels depending on the product, but some of the products, there's a lot of records, and there's a lot of calibration information and testing records that we keep on every product we ship. And that could be important to those field service technicians when they're doing this IQ, OQ. If they have questions or concerns about the performance of the system when it's installed, they could call back on us and say, hey, I got serial number 7235. I'm looking for the records that you guys have because I need a certain bit of information. And that's part of our support. They have the access to all that, and they can go get that stuff because we keep it all. Doesn't happen often, but it's there if they need it. Especially if a product's been out in the field now for months or years, and they need to call back on some piece of information that we tested or qualified.
Sometimes we go out to do installations, but that's the exception rather than the rule. We certainly are capable of doing it. Well, we're capable of doing some of them. Some of the IQ, OQs, and PQs require experience in the end customer's process, which we might lack. So in that case, we'd be relying on the end customer and our customer to provide that level of expertise. So we're manufacturing the product. In many cases, we've had design input on the product. We know how the product works. That doesn't necessarily mean we know how the product works in the end customer's process, because sometimes that's out of our area of expertise. So when the product leaves here, it's calibrated. It will have a calibration certificate if the customer needs it to have one. When it gets where it's going, and gets installed, usually there's a check of the calibration there. And then once it's installed and running, of course, calibrations typically need to be done periodically. I think annually is most often the time. You need to do some testing to see how long the instrument can go in use and remain in calibration. And then you just make sure that you check that calibration or recalibrate it before that time is up. There's a couple of products that we do that's every 6 months. Most of the time it's every year. And then we also offer the calibration service. Since we have all the equipment, many of our customers ship the equipment back to us and run it through our metrology lab, where we can check the calibration, do some preventative maintenance on the product, and then ship it back out. So that's also a service that we offer.
There are certain instances with, I think the product that John's alluding to, there are certain instances where for one reason or another, the product can't come back here, but it still needs to be calibrated. Or any preventative maintenance that needs to happen to the device. So in those instances, we do have field service technicians that will go out to the facility and they'll do the work that needs to be done on site. Again, more of an exception than a rule, but certainly we do have the capability to do that if we need to.
Yeah, some of our products are used in clean rooms, and it's painful. I guess it's easy to get the product out of a clean room. It's a lot more painful to get it back into the clean room. So those customers prefer to have us show up once a year and go through all the instruments that they have and calibrate them on site and do all the PM work on site. And we do that. If something fails, we've had to dispatch technicians to fix it on site, especially if it can't realistically be shipped back to Product Resources. Most of the products can be shipped easily back to us, and the same facility that does the metrology can also handle the repairs. So we have a service depot, and we'll fix anything that we make. It's more difficult if the product is out of production, but if it's in production, we've got plenty of parts for spare parts. Once it goes out of production, then that's kind of a contractual arrangement. How many years do we need to support a product in the field? That's usually 7 years. So we'll retain inventory for spare parts for that period of time. And we'll have a good history of, what kind of things we need to keep around.
And a lot of times too, we'll keep inventory in-house for various spare parts, whether it be one discrete component or a sub-assembly spare part. Some of our bigger customers with this, legion of field service engineers, they can do some of the maintenance and repair, and the spare parts that we provide will go to them so that they can do on-site repairing and stuff like that. So we'll hold certain pieces, riskier pieces, harder to obtain the components pieces, whatever it may be, high risk items or high risk sub-assemblies will retain some of those extra so that they can be sold off as spare parts to our customer for use out in the field if they need to swap something out or change it or whatever it may be.
And this is all worked out with the customer. As a certain product is winding down, usually there's another one that's coming up to take its place. So we want the transition to go smooth. So there's discussions on spare parts and how many we're going to need and for how long. And we handle that transition as we're ramping one product down and ramping another one up.